Welcome to this webinar on benefit issuance, eligibility, and direct certification. In this webinar, we'll be discussing eligibility determinations and direct certification regulations. So to start off, we'll discuss eligibility. Throughout this presentation, I'll be referencing the Free and Reduced Price Handbook and the Eligibility Manual. The Free and Reduced Price Handbook and all the attachments are on our website under Free and Reduced Price Information, and the Eligibility Manual is on our website under Handbooks. So before we discuss benefit issuance and direct certification, we'll go over some general terms and concepts concerning eligibility. The first term is the determining official. This is the LEA official responsible for determining the children's eligibility for free or reduced price benefits. So this is the person who approves the applications and determines what level of benefits the student would receive. The next term is categorical eligibility. This is someone who is automatically free because of the category they are in, so it doesn't matter what income they have. They could either participate in an assistance program like SNAP or TANF, or they could fit into a category other than an assistance program, which is called other source categorically eligible. So that would include foster and homeless students. Categorical eligibility is determined from the direct certification download, agency documentation, or from the household application. Categorical eligibility is divided into two types. The first type is the assistance programs, and there are 3 different assistance programs. So if a member of the household participates in any of these, the students in that household are automatically eligible for free meals. The assistance programs are SNAP, which is Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, and that's also known as food stamps. The next one is TANF, which is Temporary Assistance for Needy Families. That's also known as Temporary Assistance. And the last is FDPIR, which is Food Distribution Program on Indian Reservations. In Missouri, we don't see very many students that are participating in FDPIR because we don't have any Indian reservations. So for the most part, in Missouri, you'll see SNAP or TANF as the assistance programs. So then the other type of eligibility is other source categorically eligible. So a source other than an assistance program. The other sources of categorical eligibility are homeless, runaway, migrant, foster, and Head Start. For assistance programs, if anyone in the household receives benefits from an assistance program, then this extends the benefits to all the other students in the household. For example, we have one student who is on SNAP, and because they are on SNAP, they receive free benefits. And then also all the other students in the household also automatically receive free benefits. With other source categorical eligibility, the student automatically receives free benefits, but those benefits are not extended to the rest of the household. So that's the main difference between other source categorical eligibility and the assistance program eligibility. Even though the benefits are not extended, the other source categorical eligible student can be included as a member of the household on the application. So they have an extra household member, then the rest of the students might be able to qualify for a greater benefit. This table explains what each other source category is, what supporting documentation is required to keep. The foster child must be formally placed, and the state has to retain legal custody in order for them to be considered a foster child. For a foster child, the documentation you would need is the direct certification list. You also might have a list or letter from the Department of Social Services, or you could have an application where the child is marked as a foster student. For homeless or runaway, you'd need a list or letter with the child's name, effective dates, and the signature of the homeless liaison. So something from the homeless liaison letting you know who is certified as homeless. For a migrant, it's similar to homeless, where you'd need something from your migrant official. And for Head Start, you would just need the enrollment roster for who's enrolled in Head Start. Other categories of eligibility are the non-applicant approved by local officials. So for this one, if the household does not complete an application and is not directly certified, a local official may complete the application on behalf of the household if they have a knowledge of their income or categorical eligibility. So the official must have some knowledge of the situation or income. For example, if the parent worked at the school district, then they would know the income. You cannot use this just because a household is not paying their lunch bills. So you have to have knowledge of the situation. And when the official completes the application, they need to note the source of their information. How do they know what the income is or their categorical eligibility? They would not need to list the other household members, the Social Security number, or the signature. And then the last category is student extended benefits from other household members. So to document these students who have been extended benefits, you can use an application with a case number on it that lists all the students in the household. You could also use your school district's enrollment records that list all the household members, or if you get information from the household or the parent letting you know that these students are all part of the same household, you can just keep that on file. An easy way to keep documentation of household members that have been extended benefits is to use this form, which is located in the Free and Reduced Price Handbook. And it has a place to list the household member participating in the assistance program and a place to list all the household members to whom the benefits have been extended. So this form is not required to be used, but it's recommended, and it helps keep track of those students, especially if they move multiple households throughout the school year. The last general eligibility concept to review is the carryover of benefits. So the benefits from the previous year are carried over 30 operating days into the new school year, or until a new application has been approved or until they are directly certified. So if you don't receive any new eligibility information, the student needs to be changed to paid after 30 days. If you receive an application during the 30 days, or if they are directly certified during those 30 days, then you would update the status immediately, even if it meant a decrease in benefits. Categorical eligibility is extended to any newly enrolled children for the carryover period. So if a kindergartner is in a household that was receiving free benefits the previous year, then they would receive free benefits for the first 30 days into the next school year, even though that kindergartner wasn't enrolled the previous year. This discusses what to do for carryover and transfer of a student from a provision to a non-provision school. The main provision this applies to is CEP, which is called the Community Eligibility Provision. For CEP, schools provide all their meals for free, and that's based on the number of students who are directly certified as free. So all those students in a CEP district are receiving free meals. So if a student is coming from a CEP school or a Provision 2 school that was giving free meals for both breakfast and lunch, or a Provision 3 school that was giving free meals, then you can carry over those free benefits. So if the student was at a CEB school, whether they were moving to a new school in the same LEA or moving to a new LEA, at the beginning of the year, you can carry over their free benefits for up to 30 operating days or until a new eligibility is determined. You're not required to, but you're encouraged to. For transferring any time in the year, if the student is transferring from a CEP school to a standard counting school within the same district or to a new district, they must be given 10 days of free benefits, but may be given up to 30 days. So you can see this went into effect July 1st, 2019. So this is a brand new requirement that you should be aware of. So you must give them 10 operating days or until a new eligibility is determined. And this is reiterating that it's starting this year. You will be required to provide up to 10 operating days or until a new eligibility is determined for any student transferring from a provision school to a non-provision school. But you may give up to 30 days of free meals. There is a list of CEP schools on our website, so you can know if they transferred from that school, they must get 10 days of free meals. You might also want to have a process in place when you receive paperwork from the school they're coming from that asks if they were attending a provision school, so you can figure out that way if they will receive the free meals. So on our website, if you go under Community Eligibility Provision, and then click on the link that says LEAs electing CEP with identified student percentage, it will let you know which schools are participating in CEP. So this is what the CEP list looks like, and it lists the district and the individual buildings that are participating in CEP. So one district may have some buildings that are CEP and some buildings that are not. So it's important to know which building they came from, not just which district. So this is a close-up of what the list looks like. So you can see in Columbia the buildings that were participating in CEP. So you know if a student transferred from one of these buildings, then you would need to give them at least 10 days of free meals and up to 30 days of free meals. For Provision 2 schools that are operating both breakfast and lunch Provision 2 and Provision 3 schools, we don't have that posted yet, but we plan to soon. They have until the beginning of the school year to sign up for this, so that's why we're holding off on getting this posted. Right now, these are the schools that are participating or planning to participate in Provision 2 for both lunch and breakfast, and the schools participating in Provision 3. So this just gives you a heads up of which LEAs might be participating, but look for that complete list on our website coming soon. If a student is transferring from a standard count school within the same LEA, then they must accept their eligibility documentation. And if they transfer to a new LEA, you're strongly encouraged to accept the eligibility determination from the previous school. And the nice thing about that, too, is you're not liable for the accuracy of the previous school's determination. So if they made an error, then you are not going to be held accountable for it. Now we'll go ahead and discuss direct certification. Direct certification is determining children eligible for free benefits based on documentation obtained directly from the agency. So the main method that we use is the automated data matching system, which is the MOSIS system. So the old MOSIS data collection system, or the MOSIS direct match system, or then the zip code list. So we'll talk about these further. The direct certification download is required to be completed at least 3 times a year. So the first at the beginning of the year in July or August, then in October, and then again in January. So the list is now available to download weekly. We strongly encourage you to download at least monthly, but it is available weekly if you'd like to download that often. Anytime you get a new match, make sure you keep a copy of that download in your files. And directly certified students are free for the entire year, plus the 30-day carryover, and they are not included in verification. If you're operating CEP, you are required to run the direct certification list on April 1st each year, and this will let you know where your numbers are trending, so you might want to reestablish a base year because your ISP went up or because you're trending down and want to lock in CEP for the next 4 years. Public LEAs have access to all the direct certification methods. They can use either the MOSIS data collection method, which is the old method, or the new direct match method for their required downloads. And they also have access to the zip code file, but it does not count as one of your required downloads for the year. So 3 times a year you need to use either the old MOSIS method or the new MOSIS direct match method. Often public LEAs will use the zip code file if they have a transfer student they're trying to find that hasn't matched in their records yet. For non-public LEAs, it's a little different. They have access to just the new direct match method and the zip code file, and they can use either one of those methods to count toward their 3 required downloads. So I'd say the majority of non-publics are still using the zip code list for their direct certification. For the MOSIS download and direct match, there's a match report which you're required to run, and this gives a list of students who have a 94% match rate between the MOSIS ID system and the Department of Social Services. There's also a near match list, and you're highly encouraged to run this, especially if you're thinking about doing CEP. The near match list is an 88 to 93% match rate, and you'll just need to look at those students on the near match list and confirm if they really are your students. The process of downloading the MOSIS list is in the free and reduced price handbook, and there are also webinar links on our website to walk you through the steps of the download process. So this is for the old method. For the new method, the new direct match method, there are basic steps on how to do the direct match in our free and reduced manual. And there are also other resources on the DESE Core Data website with the link here. And if you have any trouble doing the direct match method, you can contact Core Data and they'll be able to help you out with that. Non-public LEAs use the zip code list, which is found on the web application system. Public LEAs can use this list, and you'll manually check this list against your roster. The steps to download the zip code list are also in the free and reduced price handbook. There is an eligibility effective date for directly certified students waiver that is on file. If you use this waiver, you can use the date of eligibility as the date of the automated data matching file rather than the date you download or process the file. So if you download the list in December, but the file has a match date saying they were eligible as of November, you can claim the meals back to that date in November. However you do it, make sure you do it consistently. So if you choose to claim the meals as free, then you need to reimburse any money paid by the student or forgive their debt if they had a debt because of it. If you want to use this flexibility in the eligibility date, you need to complete the waiver, which is an attachment in the free and reduced price handbook. This form only has to be completed once. You do not need to resubmit it each year. If you are not sure if you have this on file with us, please contact us and we can let you know if we have it on file for you. So this is what the match date column looks like in the zip code list and on the MOSIS download list. So this is the date you would use if you have that flexibility on file. You would use that match date as of their date for eligibility. In the direct match file, there aren't any column headings right now, so the date in the second to the last column is the match date. There are only 2 dates on the file. One is their birth date, one is the match date. So you should be able to tell from the year, which is that match date that you can use for the date of eligibility if you have the waiver on file. On the direct certification list, SNAP trumps all other categories, and then TANF trumps foster. So if the student is SNAP, that's how they'll be recorded and reported, whether or not they also are in the other categories. On the MOSIS download and the zip code list, there are columns for the source of the eligibility, and there's a column for SNAP, TANF, and foster. If there is a Y in any column, that student will get free meals. If the column has a Y or is blank, then that student is eligible under that status, but the Y is what is the trumping category, so report the students under the column that is the Y. So on this first one, we have a Y in the SNAP column, so you would record them as SNAP and report them as SNAP. And then this second to the last one, there's a Y in the foster column, so that means they are foster only, and you would record them and report them as foster. And just remember that benefits are not extended to the rest of the household if they are foster only. On the direct match list, there is a trumping column, so you will record the student for that benefit that is in that column. So you'll see on the list, the last column will say if they're SNAP, foster, or TANF. So you'll record them as whatever this trumping column has for them. If any household member is receiving benefits from an assistance program, then all the students receive free meals. It could be any household member, it could be a grandmother, step-parent, or anyone else in the household. And for the 30-day carryover, the eligibility must be extended to any newly enrolled students. If a child with extended eligibility moves to a new household, they retain their benefits, but their benefits are not extended to the rest of the household. So in this next slide, I'll go over that in more detail. So in this slide, we have 3 different households. In this first household, we have one student who is directly certified as SNAP, so they automatically get free meals. And since they're in a household with these other students, the other students in the household also automatically get free meals for the entire year. Then, for example, we have this SNAP student moving to a different household. So now that they've moved, the other students in the new household are also extended those free benefits. So the ones in the previous household, they'll keep their free benefits for the entire year plus the 30-day carryover, and the students in the household, the new household, also receive free benefits for the entire year plus the 30-day carryover. Now, instead of the SNAP student moving, we have a student who's been extended benefits moving to another household. So they are free for the entire year, and they keep their benefits even though they moved, but those benefits are not extended to the rest of the household. Those students would need to qualify on their own, either direct certification themselves or by an application. If the student is foster only, the benefits do not extend. So we have a foster student who is automatically free, but the other students in the household would need to qualify on their own. But the foster child could be listed on the household application as a member of the household, and that might help them qualify for some benefits. When a student is directly certified, then you'll need to send them a notification. The notification lets them know that the child will receive free benefits. It lets them know they don't need to fill out an application, and it lets them know if there are other household members, then those other students in the household can also receive free benefits. And it also lets them know that they should contact you if they don't want to receive those benefits. So we have this attachment in our free and reduced price handbook. Make sure you also include the non-discrimination statement with that letter. All program materials that reference the food and nutrition services must include the non-discrimination statement on all print and non-print materials. A lot of our handouts in our free and reduced price handbook, the non-discrimination statement goes onto the second page, so make sure you're getting both pages whenever you send out those documents. And just to end this webinar, I just wanted to briefly mention your record retention. Just to remind you, you need to keep all of your eligibility documents for a minimum of 3 years plus the current year. It's best to keep the applications at a central location instead of at the school, but you can keep them at individual schools if they can easily be retrieved. And just make sure to keep your benefit issuance document up to date. So your list of free and reduced students and how they receive their eligibility, make sure to keep that up to date. So that ends this webinar. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact me by email or by phone.